Monster Hunter came out in 2004 on the PS2, it took the most exciting element of action RPGs and stripped away everything else. The resulting game was lean on story and character, but still provided hours upon hours of monster killing. Monster Hunter Freedom brings the series to the PSP as a semi-port of the Japan-exclusive Monster Hunter G. The game retains remarkable graphics for the PSP system, but at the expense of slow loading, bizarre gameplay, and sloth-like pacing. Forget about your elven quests, betrayals by friends, saving the world, or basically any other RPG plot point you can think of. Monster Hunter doesn't have them. What it does have is a hunter who wants to kill monsters to earn treasure and acquire guild points so he can slay bigger monsters and get more treasure. That's it. In an odd way, it's refreshing that Monster Hunter is so focused, and you can't hold the lack of story against a game that clearly doesn't want one. If you're the type of gamer who likes to get lost in a plot-driven world, you're not going to find it here. There's no way around it, Monster Hunter just isn't a very good handheld game. All of the elements that made it work on the PS2 are absent here. The first thing you'll notice is that Freedom is very slow. The characters speak and move at a snail's pace. The game is also slow in terms of mission progression. There are dozens of them and they each take a long time to complete, but most are repetitive, and the ones that make you collect items instead of kill monsters will make you wonder what they're doing in a game called Monster Hunter. When you're fighting, many of the weapons move so slowly that you'll find yourself often attacking the ground next to your enemy instead of the creature who has now moved on. The last and worst aspect of the game's pacing is the loading screens. You'll have a lot of time to reflect upon how great each of Monster Hunter's tiny game areas look while you wait the 10 to 15 seconds it takes to load the next area. Considering that there are typically a minimum of 5 to 6 areas you have to traverse for each quest, and that you have to return to your home base to complete most missions, you're looking at 2 to 6 minutes of loading time for each quest. With this much downtime, you might as well be sitting on your couch playing the game on a system that can actually handle Monster Hunter's graphics. What Monster Hunter Freedom gets right is the actual monster killing. There's something inherently satisfying about slaughtering a huge monster with a gigantic battle mace and then dismembering the carcass for an award. However, the camera movement is terrible. Your view remains in a stationary orbit fixed in space around your hunter, unless you're constantly recentering it with the left shoulder button. You can move the camera with the D-pad, but this is nearly impossible in the heat of battle because your left thumb is going to be occupied with maneuvering your hunter via the analog stick. Each button on the PSP is crammed with functions, some of which bring up their own mini-menus, which of course have a completely different set of button functions. The buttons are so jam-packed with functions that even the select button performs a direct action. All of this means you're going to have to keep your cool in combat because the start button was already occupied with a menu function, so there wasn't any room left for a button to actually pause the game. Monster Hunter Freedom's shortcomings are especially apparent because the game is so ambitious with its graphics. If you're really looking for a handheld game that's going to take hundreds of hours to complete, by all means consider Monster Hunter. However, be warned that the gameplay, repetitiveness, and ridiculous loading times are enough to keep all but the most hardcore handheld fans away. The graphics and music are nice, but Monster Hunter should have stayed where it belonged, on the PS2.